Can you hear me?
Yes.
I need your microphone in front of you.
Oh, you heard me anyway.
Well,
How about that?
because we're sitting in a room together.
That's how it works, huh?
Everything's running.
What's it say on the front of your shirt?
It says Whoville. Established 1957.
Whoville.
Yeah.
Who established it?
Well, it's the Grinch movie.
Is that when it came out in 57?
I guess so. I don't know which one it is, though. Let me look. We're going to talk about Christmas movies today after we intro the podcast.
I thought we were already podcasting.
We are, but we have to say hi to the people.
Oh, well, you know, a lot of the programs on TV, they just start. And then you get kind of people doing something. There's some action.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it says, oh, by the way,
Yeah.
that we're going.
That's like where, I mean, we don't have like a theme song, but you know how like it usually like you get a few minutes of the show and then they do the theme song?
Yeah.
That's kind of how we do it. Subconsciously, I kind of do it that way, but we don't have a theme song. But usually I don't open right away and say like, welcome to the podcast.
Okay.
That's why usually we do some small talk first before.
This was big talk.
Okay, before we keep the movie talk, we have to say hello to the people.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome. Couple days before Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and my grandpa. This is episode 8.
Wow.
It's crazy to think that it's been 2 months.
I'm not going to ask if you had a favorite yet.
I can't pick a favorite yet. I feel like I spend so much time every week editing and watching this and doing it, like sitting here with everyone. It's kind of weird. I had a friend today tell me, like I told him we're filming today and they were like, great, I'm listening to like your last one. And I was like, I still haven't figured out how I should feel internally when people tell me they're actively listening or watching it.
Yes.
Because I feel so proud of it on one hand, and on the other hand, I feel like a child who like just got up in front of the class and gave a speech, and you get done and you're like, that was the most embarrassing thing ever. I have no idea what I said or did. And so I'm very grateful that people listen, and I love reading the comments. We had last week people were happy that we're bringing on like such a variety of guests. So that definitely, like, people said they want to keep having fun, like different guests. Someone said they wanted to go see a Shakespeare show out in California.
Oh, good.
I was like, that's so cool that just because we talked to somebody that's impacting somebody else that's watching or listening.
It is fun. I mean, it's fun for us to, we know people and we think of people, and then suddenly we go, hey, he'd be great on a podcast.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to mention his name.
Don't.
Nope.
So will this episode and next week's episode will be just us. And then starting in the new year, we have some other guests that are on our list of people to talk to. So definitely keep an eye out or an ear open for those episodes.
How do they know?
We don't really tell people ahead of time who's coming very much. But we could start doing that.
Okay.
We could start dropping hints or announce it. This person coming soon.
Oh, do you put it on some of the media kinds of things?
We could put it on the medias.
Oh, that'd be cool. We'll take their picture and say, who do you think this is?
That's kind of interesting because I feel like, I mean, we're not to a point where we're talking to major celebrities by any means.
Yeah.
So a lot of our interviews are kind of more unknown people who are successful in their own right, and there's something really cool about that we get to help expose them or their passion or their concepts to other people that are willing to hang out with us every week for a little bit. Yeah.
Do you know what I did last night?
What did you do last night?
Gladys and I went out driving around the neighborhoods looking at Christmas lights.
Yeah,
at holiday lights, driving around. And
did you do that when you were little?
There weren't any when I was little.
There weren't any Christmas lights?
No,
that's so funny.
Not on the west side of Chicago. Are you kidding? They would have been gone in 10 minutes. Somebody put out lights. Goodbye.
You're right. You are right about that.
Adios.
That was a big deal when I was little, is they would take us driving around the suburbs, whether I was down in the Chicago suburbs or up in Wisconsin. They'd take us. I remember my mom's mom, my grandma, shout out to Nana, who's definitely watching or listening this today.
Sure.
But she would pile all of us kids into the car and drive around and look at these lights, look at those lights.
Yeah.
And the coolest ones are the ones that are connected to the radio station. So you drive up and they have a sign that says, turn to blah, blah, blah station. And the lights match the music on the radio. So they're following the beats or the words or whatever it is. So those are really exciting.
Yeah.
I went to a local zoo that had a light show the other week. And they had these Christmas trees that sang words, and my sister and I were looking at them, and I was like, I could do all the work to like set those up and code them to match music songs, and that'd be so cool, but it would take so long. And my dad was like, just buy a kit that does it for you. And I looked it up. It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
It was not a cheap thing, but it was really fun to watch them. They like told jokes, like dad jokes.
Oh, good.
And sang Christmas songs, and there were like 3 or 4 Christmas trees, and it was like they were talking to each other. It was really funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you went and looked at Christmas lights last night. Do you have a favorite type of Christmas light?
What I was really surprised at was how big Grinch is right now.
Grinch is huge. I
mean, really huge. I mean, if you saw balloons and stuffed animals and...
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think the favorite was a huge bear that kept reaching out like he wanted to hug you.
Okay.
And, it have felt good. It really...
Have you ever seen the houses that, like, don't have many lights, but they'll just have, like, a string of lights that comes down to a Grinch sign, and the Grinch is putting the lights in his, like, bag, like he's stealing the people's Christmas lights?
No, I didn't see any of those.
Those ones are funny because it's, like, you put the effort in to decorate your house, but didn't want to go over the top, so, like, you just strung one string of lights and was like, the Grinch took the rest.
You know, there's a neighborhood nearby where as you pull in, there are so many characters, these balloon characters and stuffed animals and trains. And it's hundreds of pieces. And this person must spend 3 months putting this up.
It takes a lot of time.
Gladys immediately said, can you imagine his electric bill?
Oh, yeah.
And it was huge. Okay, so you're entering a neighborhood.
Yeah.
This is the first house. The house across the street's got a lot of lights, too. But once we got into the neighborhood, it was about 3 blocks long. Hardly any lights.
Really?
And began to think, if I lived in that neighborhood, I might be a little blown away. Maybe I wouldn't. They're going to see my few lights, and it's all over.
You feel like you're not as efficient as everyone else?
Well, it was kind of like, gosh, we said it all right there as we came in the neighborhood. Yeah. I mean, there it is. And
Can't top that.
It was really
Have you ever
cool.
been to like an official, I don't know what you would call them, but they're like drive-through light shows?
No, I haven't. I think the biggest and best, I spent a lot of time in my 80 plus years doing Christmases. And I think the biggest, most impressive for me was at Disney World in what was then MGM Studios. What they had then, now it's Hollywood Studios, but it used to be Disney MGM. What they had then was a Osborne family dancing light area. Okay. Which they don't have anymore, and I'll tell you why not. But it was in the back of Disney MGM was a street filled with homes. And these homes used to be in Disney movies. They were built for Disney movies. And TV shows like Leave It to Beaver or The Golden Girls. And now we're getting old, but that are still on TV, those TV programs. Yeah. And so Osborne put up streets and streets and streets and millions of lights. Took over a whole neighborhood of Little Rock, Arkansas. And they gave the whole thing to Disney with the idea that they would put them on their street where all these homes are and then open it up for the public in the winter for Christmas time. So it was a wonderful evening of walking down a street with millions of things in the air and dancing lights. And they had music every 10 minutes. It would go on 10 minutes and then it would change, which changed the action of the lights.
Yeah.
As music was playing, the lights kept up with the music and the beat and so forth. And that was the most amazing thing that I remember at Christmas. Christmas at Disney was, it still is. I'm going this weekend. I'll be back.
Yeah.
But Osborne Lights won't be there because they took down that street in order to build the Star Wars area.
Oh.
Yes.
I have yet to be in the Star Wars area.
Oh, well, there's no lights. So,
Well.
But Osborne took the lights,
Yeah.
and Disney gave them to a charity
Good.
that puts on this show and you could still go see the show.
Cool.
It was cool.
Yeah, we did, and we've done them a few times, but they're these drive-through light shows, which are really great for little kids who you don't want to have to sit outside. I mean, up in the north, it's sub-0 degrees sometimes at this time of year. And it's also good for elderly people who don't want to walk or be out in the cold. Mm-hmm. And so it was really nice that we could or the dogs. It was always really fun to take the dogs too, because they have no idea what's going on, but it is fun for them to watch all the lights. So we'd all pile in the car. And it's similar to like a drive-in movie. You pay per car full, not per person. Mm-hmm. And so you pay the 15 or 20 bucks, whatever it is. And it's like at least a mile, sometimes a few miles of lights. So you drive through and the first area could just be like generic Christmas tree type lights. And then the next area would be Grinch themed or Disney themed or superhero themed. Mm-hmm. And so you just keep going through section by section. They'll have all different things. And there's something that everyone's excited about. So like you may be excited that they have a dog area or an area that has a specific cartoon you like or a movie you love that's a Christmas-themed movie, or they'll get to Rudolph, or they have candy canes. And so it's always just exciting because you're just sitting there, and even if you're bored, you're like, this is still really cool.
Yeah,
like even if it's not your favorite part of it.
Yeah.
So by the end of it, you're like, that was a lot of work. Like very similar to like the neighborhood where you're like, their electric bill must be high. The people that run these things, I really hope they're profitable. Like, I wonder how much electric they're paying versus how many cars get to go through that thing every night.
Yeah.
And it's just really fun. But yeah, we did one in a bomb shelter. We've done a few that they'll do them in like mall parking lots or something, or parking lots of things that are usually open only during the summer because they have no purpose in the winter up north when it's snowing. But down here, there's no snow.
Well,
in the south where it doesn't snow, like, does it feel weird? I mean, this is my first, like, not being in a cold climate, winter, Christmas situation. And it feels weird to think of like palm trees with Christmas lights. Like, what do you, like, how do you equate, to me, like Christmas always feels very snowy. And you've spent a long time not doing a snowy Christmas.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes we miss the snow so much we just get up and go north.
That's always
probably
an option.
My favorite was all 4 of our kids and their families that were born yet.
Correct.
Would fly to Durango, Colorado, just north of Durango.
Before my time.
Is where our home in the mountain is. Mm-hmm. And it's 5 minutes from Purgatory Ski Resort. And they get 550 inches of snow a year.
Oh, my.
And the house sat on the side of the mountain looking at the Twin Peaks, and that was pretty special to have the fires going in the fireplace and skiing. The youngest kids learning how to ski.
It sounds really beautiful. How old were you when you first skied?
first ski, I was in my mid to late 20s.
Okay.
Yeah. I
still have time then.
I think
I'm the only one in my family who's never been skiing.
I was a graduate student at Michigan State.
Okay.
And my major professor was a great skier. And he taught us how to ski. Taught some of your aunts and uncles and mom and dad maybe how to ski too. And so there's something about skiing that I should tell you about.
Okay.
If a kid can ski, I'm talking about a kid like 6 to 12 years old.
Yeah.
Even 13. If he can ski, he can handle a lot of stuff in his world. It's true.
Okay.
We were working with a school in Lansing, Michigan, and we had a bunch of kids there that wouldn't read. Reading was, a downer for them.
Yeah.
And so, and part of it was they didn't want to attempt to read. They knew they couldn't do it. And so my friend, who was my major professor, he said, let's take this bunch of kids and we'll make a deal with them. If they would try to read, we'll take them skiing. Now, I know some people in the reading world would say that's a nasty, wrong thing to do. But we did it. And we took them skiing, taught them how to ski. And they got good at it.
Yeah.
And there was a direct relationship with them taking a risk to read. And they became better students in school. So I was really hoping that my kids would learn how to ski. And,
at a young age?
I think their self-concept just really, if you can go down that mountain. Now, I don't know if it's skiing in Iowa. I don't mean to put down Iowa. We're talking skiing, like in New England. Or, well, even a hill in Indiana might be okay in southern Indiana. If you could ski, if a kid could learn how to do that, his ego, his self-concept really grows. That's great. And certainly going down a sled or toboggan down a hill.
My mom had this vintage, like from a time she was a kid. I don't know if it was her grandparents or if they got it at a flea market or something. This wooden toboggan that had this cushion on top of it that was not very thick at all. It was, you could tell this thing was old. And we kept it up in the roof rafters of our garage up in Chicago. And we took it out a few years ago. There was a big snowfall, and the kids in our town would go sledding at this like basin, like this water reserve that was always empty because it didn't, unless it like stormed hard. But when it snowed, it became a great sledding hill. But the walk up is always brutal. You're like, this is so fun for all of like 20 seconds. And then you have to march all the way up the hill again with your sled. But we took the toboggan, and there had to be 6 or 7 of us that all fit on the toboggan together, and we rode it down. And I think it was really special for my mom to take it out there and do it again because she had so many memories on it. And I'm sure we did it as a kid, but to do it at a time where we were all almost adults, like all able to consciously remember it together, it was a really fun time. Yeah. But she did not bring the toboggan down here. I don't think we need it here in the South where it doesn't snow. It was given given to someone else who will use it.
Yeah, we don't see a lot of toboggans here.
Yeah, probably not.
I think...
do you feel like the holidays feel less Christmassy, or like they feel different since there's no snow? Or you feel like they're the same?
I think the most important thing in my lifetime was the gathering of the family. Mm-hmm. I've always enjoyed opening that gift. I remember the first time I woke up and looked next to my bed. We didn't have a Christmas tree in a little apartment I lived in when I was a little kid in Chicago. But waking up and looking at that Mattel toy sitting there, Mattel goes back a long way.
That's so funny.
Waking up and seeing that little gas station with little cars
Yeah.
that can go up and down to the second level and go through the car wash and stuff. And gosh, it was great.
Do you have a favorite Christmas gift?
I think as I've grown older, the most favorite are those that have to do with somebody saying, we've got a trip planned with you.
Oh, like the experiences.
Yeah, like let's go to the zoo together, take a Saturday,
Yeah.
and we'll take you out to lunch, and or we'll go see a special ball game.
Yeah.
As I've grown older, those have become more meaningful, and planning times together.
Yeah.
And that's where my head goes at Christmas.
That's cool. As a kid, though, did you have a favorite Christmas gift that, like, you remember that stuck out?
Well, it was that little gas station.
That gas station toy?
My first one, sure.
That's cool.
Yeah. And, and everybody, at least for boys, getting a new pair of pajamas or something wasn't much.
Yeah.
I mean, boy. Yeah. Oh, good.
Did you guys do, like, matching Christmas pajamas?
No. And I grew up in a Jewish family.
I was going to say, you didn't celebrate, like, Christmas, like, religiously the way a lot of people do.
Well, I don't know what the degree is. Mom
was about
I think
Santa.
I've mentioned before, it was always about Santa and the wonderful spirit of Christmas.
Which is kind of funny.
Of giving and taking care of one another and loving other people.
Yeah.
And so that's where my mom and dad were at.
Yeah.
And I would say they're closest friends. Ooh, are there any aunts and uncles listening? I think they're closest friends. We're all of a variety of religions, and
It was cities in America are melting pots. It's not like,
yeah.
there are some groups of communities that are really just one sect of people, but a lot of times you're surrounded by all sorts of people.
Well, I think, thank goodness for immigrants.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here.
I wouldn't be here.
There we go. Well, I'll tell you one thing that's really hard to do that blew my self-concept.
What?
Snow skiing.
Okay.
Snowshoeing.
Okay.
I love to ski downhill, but we rented, what we did is put a down payment on new snowshoes, because here we are up on the mountain, and we want to walk in the snow. Mm-hmm. And if you buy snowshoes, you're supposed to be able to walk on time.
Yeah.
We bought the best.
Yeah.
Sunk right down to our chests, all the way down to here.
Was this in Michigan or where
That was
were
in Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah.
Colorado.
Yeah. And the guy who sold us those shoes said, all you got to do is step out. You'll walk.
And walk in them?
We couldn't get out of the snow. We took those snowshoes back.
I think it's really interesting, the concept of snow sports, because it really is, I don't know if there's equivalent, like in the South, really, of something that like a group of people can only do seasonally. Because in the North, it gets warm enough to be able to swim. Like, I guess surfing is kind of a thing that you have to be in a certain area for.
Oh, yeah.
But in our middle school, they had a skiing club, and there was a field trip you would go on to go skiing. And of course, the year I got to middle school, that I was old enough to go up, do the skiing trip, they canceled it. They got rid of it. So I've never been skiing. And even, I don't know, it had to be before I left for college, because my sister was still really young. My parents took her and her best friend skiing. And I have no idea what I was doing, but I didn't go skiing. So
Yeah.
I have mixed feelings about it, because I don't really love the cold to begin with. And I've done some really other cool things that I feel like make up for it, but it was really, really weird to like have everyone else in the family talk about how cool it is and how exciting it is, and then go down the hill and whatnot. And I've just never experienced it. One day though, eventually I'll go.
Yeah.
But also like none of them we're in Switzerland on top of like the highest Alps in Switzerland, getting to see that. That was really fun. When I was there, it was really funny for me because I spent a weekend by myself. I did some solo travel, and I was all over. I took this train. It's called the Glacier Express, and the windows are like clear all the way up through the ceiling, so you can fully see the mountains, and it goes across Switzerland.
Wow.
And so I rode it all day long, and then I rode a bunch of trains to different towns to get back to Zurich, where I was staying for the night. And on one of the little trains, it was a smaller, like, between-town train. It wasn't anything big, but it was normal for good quality, like, public transportation in Europe. I'm sitting there, and I see these weird racks, and you're used to, like, luggage racks on, like, a bus or a train, because people travel with luggage. But they're weird. They're, like, tall, and they have little, like, straps on them, like, to hold stuff in, but they're really skinny. And I thought for a second, and I looked around, and I said, they're skiing straps for people to strap in their skis when they're traveling to, like, a skiing town from their little town. And I was like, that's so amazing that they have such a culture there, that it would be ingrained into their public transportation like that. It's not just like throw your swimsuit in a suitcase. You gotta actually like design around it. It was really funny.
Yeah.
But
I think there are places. There are places that are easier to do water sports if you're in the South.
Yeah.
I mean, although I learned how to swim in Lake Michigan in 55 or 60 degree water.
And you can do an indoor swimming pool. Like I lifeguarded at an indoor swimming pool year round.
Yeah.
Teaching kids how to swim.
Yeah, there's more and more of that.
Mm-hmm. It's not as easy to do an indoor skiing slope. It takes a little more energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was really lucky in Australia to go as far north as I could be and dive. We were certified divers, and to dive in the Barrier Reef.
Yeah.
And still be able to go far south, which would be like going out north, and being able to see skiing in the south of Australia.
Funny. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like these big countries, you can have that diversity. I was surprised let's see. It's hard to find a small country that has mild winters but yet cold enough to have ice. And I don't know why I'm talking about it right now. New Zealand. I remember being on the coast and seeing people swimming and even seeing penguins, and then looking up at see glaciers in the mountains. How about your favorite Christmas movie?
My favorite Christmas movie? That's a great question. I think that The Grinch is so good. It's a classic.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd put it at my favorite, though. Elf is a big deal for kids in my generation with Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
And I think I looked it up. The Year Without a Santa Claus. It's like a stop motion animated. It's not animated, but like stop motion movie from 1974. And it's a pretty old movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
It's an old movie.
Kind of interesting that, I mean, it was less than 5 years after.
Gosh, something 50 years old, it's really old.
Well, in respect to Christmas movies, it's on the older side.
Yeah.
I played as December goes through, you have different family gatherings, right, for the holidays.
Yeah.
And so I was at a family gathering, and we played this trivia game where it was just a few weeks ago. We had pictures of movies, Christmas movies, but it was just like one shot from the movie. and there were 15, and my little sister and I were on a team, and I don't know, it was a miracle how her and I ended up winning this game, because most Christmas movies are old in a way. Like, there are newer ones, but the ones that were on this sheet, like A White Christmas was on this sheet.
It's my favorite.
I watched it with my grandma before we moved out of Chicago. Her and I, she was like, put a movie on, and I was like, we'll watch this one. And you always see the sisters scene, like the song.
Yeah.
And then that the boys do it. I saw a clip the other day that said that was fully improv, like the boys doing it, and they kept it in because they thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But that was a good movie. And there were a few other ones, and we got a half point because there was a movie we couldn't remember the name of, but she wrote down like all the other information about the movie and the main joke in the movie and like the longer version name of the movie. So we got a half point for it. But there were some other ones that it was kind of surprising that I was like, that's what that is. But there was Home Alone's a big deal for kids in my generation.
Mm-hmm.
Elf is, I'm trying to think about what else. But A Year Without a Santa Claus, it opens with, I mean, if we want to get into song lyrics, it opens with I'll Have a Blue Christmas Without You. And that movie, or that song is just so like heart-wrenching. Every time I hear those lyrics, like I heard them the other day and I just started crying. I was like, oh, it's so hard to think about the people you miss during the holidays. I think I've had a lot of good Christmases, but some of the most memorable ones are the ones that are really hard because you're emotionally just going through it because you miss somebody that's not there, or there's other stuff going on in the family, and it can be a really stressful or hard time for a lot of people, as much as it can be a really beautiful, fun time for other people. So, I mean, we talked about it closer to Thanksgiving, but the concept of giving back during the holidays, I think, is so crucial and important for everyone, but also for kids, especially to kind of have that balance of, it's really easy during the holidays to feel like you're on top of the world and you're getting every gift possible. And my sister and I, we weren't allowed to have Barbies when we were kids. That's like a big deal for a lot of girls. It's like you get the Barbie and you get all the clothes or the accessories or whatever it is. But my mom didn't allow us to have Barbies. She was anti-Barbie because of the stigma, and the kind of conversation around Barbie at the time was really unhealthy, and it was kind of seen as what would be a role model for little girls, and she didn't want us to think that you had to be blonde and skinny and look perfect all the time, as much as Barbie is so much more than that. I mean, did you see the Barbie movie? Mm. Oh, you have to see it. It's so good. I mean, it's a huge movie. I love it. And Barbie is much more than that. But at the time, that was the conversation around it. So we weren't allowed to have Barbies. We were allowed to have American Girl dolls, however, which there's a big thing because there's an American Girl doll of the year. And then when my sister and I, as we got a little bit older, but we were still in the doll range, they have like look-alike type dolls. So you could custom order a doll that looked similar to you, which is a little bit different than a lot of dolls because you're used to just getting a generic baby doll and carrying it around. But to have a doll specifically that had the same eye color and same hair color, and then you could get the accessories for whatever activities you did. But my brother and my mom, like custom made an American Girl dollhouse for us in our room because my sister and I shared a room growing up. And it was big and it was pink. And it had 5 rooms, like 2 big ones on the top and then 3 smaller ones on the bottom. And we had American Girl doll beds. We had like bunk beds for them. We had a camper for them. So that was a huge deal. And then on our birthdays or going into the holidays for Christmas, we always would go downtown for a day and see the lights and go ice skating and go to the Chris Kindle Market, which for those of you who don't have one near you is a European kind of tradition. In a lot of towns, they have these little wooden cabins and people bring their goods, whatever they sell, to these markets. So they could be winter themed things like scarves and gloves or holiday gifts. And sometimes they were just kind of generic fun things or different foods. So we'd go to the market and get the hot chocolate in the mug and
fun.
Walk around the city. And then we'd go to Ghirardelli for ice cream. And I'd always get coffee ice cream, even though I don't like the taste of coffee. Coffee ice cream is just so good. And so we did that every year. That was a big tradition. But we'd do some window shopping, and we'd stop at the American Girl doll store, and you run around and you're like, there's this new doll coming, or this big thing's happening. And so you always knew if there was a longer, thicker box that was an American Girl doll under the tree. And that was huge. Huge. Did you guys do stockings or just gifts under the tree?
Oh, we had stockings, yeah. Now when you guys, let's talk about the last 50 years, yes.
But when you were younger,
no,
you didn't have stockings.
No, we had no place to put stockings.
So when you got older and did do stockings as an adult or as a parent as well, did you guys open stockings before you opened gifts?
Oh, sure.
Really?
Yeah, you wake up and by the chimney over here, right behind me, there'd be stockings and all kinds of goodies left near the stockings that seemed to appear early in the morning, and then
but you didn't have kids
make
in
some
this
hot
house.
chocolate.
Like when you were younger and had the children and did Christmas with the kids, did they open the stockings before they opened Christmas gifts? It's a big. I only ask. It's a conversation because there's some families that are pre-Christmas gift stocking people, and there's some families that are post-Christmas gift stocking people.
I didn't know that. You know, I never did an analysis of who did what.
We open our stockings after Christmas gifts.
Oh, okay.
My mom makes us wait. Well, the tradition started when we were younger. We always do Christmas Eve at my mom's side of the family. And then sometimes when we were younger, we'd sleep at my aunt's house and do Christmas morning there with my cousins.
Okay.
As we got older, we split off and started doing Christmas morning at our house. So late in the night, Christmas Eve, we'd drive and do the midnight, or like really it's 11 p.m. It ends at midnight, Christmas service at church. And it's a candlelit service. So the choir is singing, and then at one point you sing a song together, like the whole church does, and you light candles together, and you like use your candle to light the next person's candle. It's a very beautiful thing. And then we get home, fall asleep, wake up, Santa's there.
Yeah.
And we are all in our matching Christmas pajamas. So as young kids with our cousins, they're not exactly matching. They're the same pattern, but we each would have a different color. So like my sister would have pink and I'd have purple, or like sometimes you could match with somebody that like also liked the same color as you, but generally like they were the same type of pajama, but we were all matching. It was really cute. Then as we got older, we still do the matching pajamas. They grow and kind of ebb and flow as the years go, depending on what options there are, what's available. The other week, my sister and I picked out our Christmas morning pajama pants. Now they're not as much of a surprise. We kind of get some input in which design we want for the year. And so then we wake up in the morning, and usually my sister, the little one, wakes us all up because she's like, it's Christmas morning, Santa's here, get your butts up. So she wakes us up. Then we all stand in the hallway. We're not allowed in the living room where the stockings and the Christmas tree is. And we have to wait there. And Mom and Dad video us. And they'll say, okay, go ahead. And we'll say, good morning. It's Christmas 2023. And I'm 23 years old. And I'm this year's old. I'm 25 or whatever it is. And then we're allowed to walk in, and they film us walking in and seeing the gift for the first time. And then my sister and I are usually the gift separators. So then we have to sort out all the gifts to whoever's name is on them. And then we go around and have to like balance it out so that no one person has like a ton of gifts left to open. You want to like be as equal as possible.
Yeah.
So that you're kind of continually opening gifts together as a family. And then after we're done opening gifts, we open stockings, or we go do Belgian waffles and then come back and do stockings, depending on how tired or hungry we are by then. So it's really interesting, though. A lot of people do it differently. I know somebody who Christmas Eve, they open gifts with family, or they don't really open that many gifts with family, just like whatever family is visiting Christmas Eve that won't be there in the morning on Christmas Day. But Christmas Eve, the only gift that they get from their parents are their Christmas pajamas. So, like, they have no idea what the Christmas pajamas are until they open the gifts Christmas Eve. So it's kind of really funny how different families do it. I know some families that do Christmas because I think it's a really hard conversation to have once you have a significant other and have to start figuring out where you're going for the holidays, because you can't be in every place at once. Mm-hmm. And especially now that families live like in farther spread out spaces, you don't get to see, it's not as easy just to like drive downtown or across the like town to your significant other's family. So you have to do more of a real planning. Like one gets Thanksgiving, one gets Christmas. But I know one family I nannied for their kids. They did like her side of the family on the 23rd, and it would switch. So like they'd get the 23rd one year and the other family would get Christmas Eve the 24th. And then the next year his family would get the 23rd and her family would get the 24th. So it's kind of funny that families do stuff like that to make it work. But it takes a lot of patience and a lot of communication, because it's really hectic to figure all that out.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I think I think we'd get up and make some hot chocolate. Mm-hmm. And open some gifts.
Yeah.
Early. Because we always had dogs.
Yeah.
And dogs would wake us up, say, hey,
yeah,
we don't care if it is. Yeah. You know, sometimes 2 dogs, sometimes 3 dogs. And it's time to get up.
Did you give the dogs Christmas gifts?
Always.
Yeah.
Well,
did they unwrap them? Or you just give it to them?
There was some they need to.
We have 2 dogs right now.
Some they can work on.
And one will unwrap them, and the other couldn't care less. He's like, it's a ball of wrapping paper.
Different kinds of treats are always attached, you know. And I think most often we'd get in the car and we'd go to Waffle House.
Really?
Early in the morning.
Yeah.
Now we're talking early still.
Like when you had the kids, or just like you and your wife?
Just me and wife. Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of my kids were off taking care of you. Doing
their
things
respective
with their
children,
kids.
not me specifically.
Well, I mean, they're off doing whatever.
Taking care of the grandkids.
Yeah, and so for so many years, and so we'd go to Waffle House. Waffle House on Christmas morning in this town is really fun. Everybody's dressed up and everybody's walking in, giving huge tips, because everyone, most places were closed over these years and it'd just be a fun time, be lots of Christmas music, and people would be just in great cheer. And then we'd come home and call the kids and the grandkids and say, Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
And most often we go see a movie on Christmas Day.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and that'd be fun. Mm-hmm. I think...
you decorated a tree. You had a really beautiful tree.
Yeah, we always got a live tree.
Ooh, I didn't know it was a live tree.
Oh, yeah.
We have a fake tree.
Well, there's a big push right now about going back to having live trees. The American agriculture is big on that. People work and grow these things, and they say that it's healthy for the environment and what they do with the leftover trees, and they keep the air cleaner, and people are becoming more environmentally conscious. And I used to think, well, you kill a tree, you're not being environmentally, but that's not it. It's like it's agriculture now.
I want to say my mom or my brother or someone was allergic, or like having the live like pine needles in the house wasn't good. And then on top of that, like when you have animals, then they go everywhere because the animals play with the tree, and then the needles fall, and then you're having to clean up pine needles all the time everywhere.
Gosh,
it can be really messy.
I didn't have that experience.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Even this guy didn't bother the tree.
Yeah, we switched to a fake tree, and we spent a night together as a family watching Christmas movies and putting ornaments up on the tree together. And I was gonna say, I think it's really cute. Like, there is just the generic, stereotypical Hallmark movie, Christmas movie. And I always try watching new Christmas movies, and I try looking for gems, but it's so hard when you have things like The Grinch, like Elf, and you're like, how can you beat that with like the same travels to their hometown and falls in love Christmas movie that happens over and over again?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think that I think it's really interesting that different people. I mean, Christmas music is a big deal. I always remember we had Christmas choir concerts,
Yeah.
so we'd sing holiday songs for that. We had a Christmas parade. I remember when I was really little. They
Yeah.
stopped doing it by the time I got old enough to be in parades for stuff. But I remember like being excited because all my other like older friends and Girl Scouts were marching in the parade as the Girl Scout group, and you'd see they had smaller floats. I mean, you're in a small suburb. It's not like they
Yeah.
had huge holiday floats, but they have the fire trucks and the police cars, and they'd hand out candy. And I remember just being bundled up with my hot chocolate, and our town and the main streets had brick like sidewalks. And I was standing there with my mom, and I was wrapped in a blanket, like my arm, like I couldn't even like move my arms, and it was so cold.
Mm-hmm.
And I was leaning against my mom. I had to be really little, like 6 or 7. I was leaning back against her, and we're watching, and she took a step back or to the side to help one of my other siblings, and I fell straight back onto the bricks. And,
Oh, gosh.
And everyone came running. Are you okay? Are you okay? I don't know if I cried or not, but I remember like so vividly that experience of like watching the Christmas parade. And then by the time I got old enough, they stopped doing the Christmas parade. But they did other parades throughout the year. But it was always really kind of funny to see a parade in the winter where everyone's freezing their butts off compared to the summer where you're all like sitting out in lawn chairs.
Yeah.
But and in high school we Christmas carol. I mean, in middle school I feel like I did it more because I stopped singing in high school, like academically. But I was heavily involved in the music programs in middle school, and we'd go out Christmas caroling. Our show choir would, so we'd all go together and walk from house to house, and we had a sheet of like music songs that we would sing, and we'd walk up to the house and be like, we're singing this song this time, guys. And so then we'd all follow along and sing together and carol. It was really funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think more and more as I grow older, I still think of the old White Christmas as being
Your favorite?
yeah,
It's a good one.
Bing Crosby. Yeah.
I think Christmas is a really special time, and I also think that it's really easy to romanticize Christmas time, but you could do Christmas things year round if you wanted to go celebrate stuff. But I mean, it'll be really interesting. I'm going to take my sister ice skating, and we're in a place where you can't go ice skating outside because it's not cold enough for ice rinks outside. I mean, you kind of can, but they're still kind of melting. But but I'm going to take my sister ice skating to celebrate Christmas in the winter, even though we don't really live in the cold. But there's some fun traditions. We'll have to make new traditions. I mean, you told me this week that you used to go to the Museum of Science and Industry for Christmas and the holidays.
Yeah.
And we did that too, which is kind of funny that even years later, it's still just as fun of a holiday tradition to go do that in Chicago. I miss it. I didn't go this year.
Yeah. Well, I think, what can I say? I went out looking at Christmas lights.
Yeah.
You know, it was.
It's about time for us
I
to
didn't
wrap
need a
up.
jacket on.
No, you didn't need a jacket when
Oh,
you're
hey,
Christmas lights.
next week we'll be.
Next year,
we
next
can
week we'll talk about New Year's.
Oh, I've got some good New Year's stories.
Ooh, I'm
Yeah.
excited to hear about
You know,
your
I
New
kind
Year's
of
stories.
got them mixed in. You know, I'm thinking about Christmas, but they kind of flow
They kind of go together. They're pretty close.
Yeah.
But goodbye to everyone, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays
Merry
from us and
Christmas.
Frasier.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes, we'll have another episode out next Wednesday talking about New Year's.
Yeah.
You can like and follow on all the programs. I know we have some wonderful fans on Facebook and YouTube and our listening platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, I think it gets put on. Google Podcasts.
Yeah.
Apple Podcasts. All of the things. I'm excited. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. And me and my grandpa.
And me and my grandpa. Thanks, guys.